Hello, everyone, and welcome to what's now episode number 11 of Holographic Health with Simon and Kate. And thank you for joining us. We are going to have a really open, candid conversation about quarantining. Simon is in a hotel room at the moment doing a quarantine. In a hotel room like the one that I had that doesn't have any windows you can open. And I'd also done 14 days in a hotel in Australia in a similar situation. So we thought we would just share our experiences, have a discussion around that, and hopefully offer some support and tips if this is something that you might be experiencing or have to do. With travel at the moment and the way things are set up, it's likely that you might have to, a hotel or at your home or somewhere else. So I'll hand it over to you, Simon, to get going, seeing as you're in it right now, and sort of share what's coming up for you and your experience, and I'll share as things come up as well.
Okay, great. Thank you, Kate. So yeah, it's been a while since we've recorded one of these conversations. So for the last over 2 months, I've been in Jordan, in the Middle East, setting up a retreat over there, which has been an amazing project. And having said that, I was very much looking forward to coming back to Thailand. But I had to just kind of manage my excitement and my enthusiasm for 2 weeks. 2 weeks, because I'm spending 2 weeks in this room in Bangkok before I'm able to actually get down to Koh Samui. So yeah, it's a really, really interesting experience. I hadn't really thought too much about it before I came. It was just something that had to be done. And yeah, I just kind of realized when we were just chatting the other day, that actually this is potentially a very, yeah, a great opportunity for growth, let's say, and that's what I've been experiencing. And also, there's some things kind of practically that, on hindsight, I could have done better to prepare for this. So I thought I'd just kind of like share, my thoughts on this. So both from the practical perspective and, let's say, more from the spiritual perspective also. So yeah, where do we start? I guess we start with physical, mental, emotional. So let's start with the physical experience of this. So I mean, I knew before I came that the challenges would be some of the obvious things, like you already mentioned about not having a window. So I really did search for an option of somewhere to stay, because in Thailand, where I am in Bangkok, there are certain hotels that are actually registered as a quarantine facility. So I really kind of researched all of those to look for one with a balcony. And none of them do, and I suspect that's by design. I think that's to stop people escaping, or maybe there is they have a serious concern of being exposed to the air. I mean, they take this quarantine extremely seriously here, and maybe we won't get into the whole conversation about COVID and the kind of realities of it, and how contagious it is or it isn't. But there seems to be an underlying belief that it is so contagious that it would be dangerous to have a window that opened, or, as I say, to stop people just kind of jumping out. So yeah, this is a challenge. So, if you are going to quarantine, that's just something to look at. If you can find that option, find that out, and send a message through to the hotel that you're considering staying at, and ask them if that is an option. I mean, that's certainly, I'm kind of 12 days into this stay now. And yeah, it would have made the whole thing a lot more, not just pleasant, but also it'd be easier, I would say, just to kind of maintain health levels. Because I think for me, this is the real challenge, because I entered into this in really kind of tip-top health, which is generally where my health is. And so that was kind of really my aim, is to maintain that. And so that's been a challenge. So like most hotel rooms around the world these days, it's fitted with air conditioning. So the main air supply is through the air conditioning, which again proves a challenge, because as we know, the air conditioning units are pumping out a lot of positive ions, which are the opposite of what we need for our good health. So really kind of managing that, turning off the air conditioning as much as possible. Now, there was a tip that you shared the other day, which was useful, because the air conditioning does create a lot of dryness. And you recommended just kind of like switching the kettle on, or running the shower on hot, you know, just to kind of get a little bit of humidity in the air. So that's a really good tip as well. So, and another thing that is a challenge, and particularly on, I don't know, on the 6th, 7th floor, whatever it is, of a building here, is grounding.
Yeah.
Staying grounded. As anyone that's listened to me speak before about health generally, like, then staying connected with the ground and that earthing energy is so important for our health. So yeah, this is a real challenge. It would have been amazing just to have some pot plants here. So if you're able to take pot plants, or get someone to send you a pot plant, then that's a nice way just to stay connected with that kind of ground, that earth energy. We've actually been able to leave the room 3 times during the 2 weeks to go and have a PCR test in the roof garden. So I'm the first person up there and the last person to leave. And there's just a little bit of soil up there, and I just kind of go and plant myself in there for as long as possible. But other than that, yeah, so really consider that. I did actually bring with me a bag full of sand from Koh Samui. Now, that had nothing to do with preparing for this experience, but it was more something energetically. I wanted to take a bit of physical Thai ground with me when I went away to Jordan. So everywhere that I stayed in Jordan, I was emptying this bag of sand into a bowl and just kind of like touching it and keeping it. So I, for whatever reason, I don't know what I was thinking, but I brought a bit of it back to Thailand. So this sand has been on a bit of a journey, yeah. So actually just having that in a bowl in the room helps me to feel connected with the ground. So, you know, literally, as crazy as it might sound, you could literally bring with you just a bag of dirt, put it in a bowl, and just kind of stick your finger in it, you know. Or as they say, a potted plant is perfect. Now, there's things that we can do for this at an energetic level. So without going into any kind of detail of doing this, but we can do visualizations and meditations to ground. You know, for example, imagine roots growing out of your feet down into the earth. So this can really help us to ground as well too. And another way to help us connect with that earth energy, which leads us into food. So a lot of a lot of foods have the energy of the earth in them, particularly like your root vegetables. And of course, most of your fruits do as well too, because they grow on plants and trees that are connected to the earth. So, so this is important. Now, as you know, Kate, I'm kind of essentially a fruitarian. So my diet is 80 to 90% raw fruit. But eating the right food in this environment is a little bit challenging as well. Certainly the hotel that I'm staying at, even the kind of, let's say, vegan options are not what I would choose to eat. They're all very extremely cooked, and I don't particularly value cooked food. So, you know, really for me, it's about eating living food, which is raw fruit and raw vegetables. So I prepared as much as I could in advance, having just come on a long journey, by bringing quite a lot of dried fruit with. So that was a really good move, and that's been ever so useful. So kind of dates and figs and apricots and raisins and all these, and those have been a real godsend actually, as have bringing nuts and seeds. So these are really great to have on hand for kind of like healthy snacking, and tea bags, loads of tea bags, variety of tea. Now, I did bring with me a few packs of, I haven't got one to hand actually, but like soluble electrolytes.
Yes.
Because we really
too, actually. Yeah.
Pardon?
I actually did that too. I forgot that I'd done electrolytes. Yeah.
Extremely important. You know, again, anyone that's listened to us talk at all will know that we've spoken about, you know, the importance of the electrolytes, and that the body is an electrical circuit and is dependent on these electrolytes for that energy to flow through us. Now, normally in a normal situation, getting plenty of electrolytes through the raw fruits, and particularly things like coconuts are absolutely packed with them, and also by making sure that we've got some good quality natural salts in our diet as well too. You know, like the Himalayan salt or some good quality sea salt. So these will all help to maintain the electrolyte levels. But yeah, having these soluble packs are handy, just in case those things are not available. I did bring a bag of Himalayan salt with me. Again, it's a really good way to support the kind of mineral intake. This is extremely important for us. So yeah, just putting some Himalayan salt in some water, not to the point that the water tastes too salty, but just enough to, again, to get those minerals into the body. And I've actually been putting it in the bath, which is great. But then there's something I wish that I had thought to bring with are Epsom salts.
Yes, I just wrote a note down about that actually.
Yes, Epsom salts. But if you're going to be staying somewhere with a bath, bring Epsom salts. A great way to hydrate the body. They're extremely relaxing. But again, you know, a lot of the water that comes into these hotels, unfortunately, isn't the best quality water. And using the Epsom salts just brings some life into it. And just before we get onto water in full, so, you know, back to the foods, what I have been really fortunate with is that people have been sending me parcels of fruit. So, so, you know, if you're going to go somewhere where you know someone, that's amazing. And I've been receiving parcels of food, but of course nowadays there's some great online potential as well. So if that wasn't the case, certainly here in Thailand, you can literally order from like supermarkets and stuff and get the fruit delivered. I think most places, certainly, where the kind of quarantine facilities are in major cities, that is an option. So yeah, keeping really stocked up on fresh fruit has been extremely valuable. What else when it comes to food? Okay, so something I really wish that I had with me, which if I find myself in this situation again, I will do to prepare, is to get one of those little mini blenders where you can make a smoothie.
Yes.
Yeah, because I love smoothies. Like, probably about a quarter of my daily food intake is smoothies. So what would have been really ideal would be to have like some raw almonds with, because then you can soak those almonds, and then you've got your almond milk.
Yes.
But you just throw the almonds in the blender with some water, and you've got your almond milk. Now, if you're going to use that almond milk for a smoothie, you actually don't really need to take out the meat from the almond.
Yeah.
You can leave it in there because it'll just thicken up your smoothie.
Yeah.
Of course, if you're detoxing or something, or you want to, you can take the meat out and then use that to make some energy balls or something like that. But oftentimes I'll just leave that in the blender to use in the smoothie. So then it would have been so nice just to have like some cacao powder with some dates. I could have then thrown in a banana or something, or a bit of avocado, and made up a really nice kind of like chalky smoothie or something, or thrown some of I've got like these beautiful mangoes that have been sent to me. So, some mango, and I'm sure the hotel would have been able to provide with some ice as well to make like a bit of a kind of, sorry, Kate.
I know, I was going to say the ice is a great idea, and I was just taking some notes as you were chatting, and I was super fortunate when I had come to Australia because my friend dropped me a smoothie machine, a little smoothie maker, and also a plant, because he knew how much I love the earth and grounding and things. So he brought a couple of plants in, and so I had them in my room, and I would just put my hand on the soil, on the leaves, and I mean, it makes such a difference. I can't really explain it, but
for sure. And I'll talk a little bit later about the kind of mental emotional kind of experience of this, but for sure being in a situation where we're deprived of things that we might take for granted, or is really good, actually. It's a good practice, and just to kind of reestablish that appreciation I just spend my life barefoot. I don't even think about it, so being deprived of that in a way, I've kind of noticed the value of that, and I'm sure I'll be very appreciative of that when I do get out of here. So, but back to the kind of food thing, subject is water. And water is so important, and not just as a liquid for hydration, but as a living body that we're often surrounded by. I know I am. I live by the sea. I go to the waterfall a few times a week, swim in the waterfall, and so really appreciate the value of living, moving water. And so this has been a little bit of a challenge, and my only drinking water supply is bottled water. I haven't even looked at the contents of this bottled water, because I don't want to know. I don't want to know if it's got fluoride in it or whatever, because really I haven't got too much option about it.
Yes.
I suppose I could go online and get some water delivered. But you know, with water, I think in the past we have talked a little bit into how we can affect water, how we can program the water.
Yes.
So this is something that I'm always conscious of it, but I've been super conscious of it in here because I've just got this very kind of like dead plastic bottled water available to drink. So so using things like crystals. So I have crystals with, I don't go anywhere without crystals, but having crystals with is good to put into your drinking water.
Yes. Yeah.
Even into your bath with you, but into your drinking water. And then just blessing your water, thanking your water. And always good to have a water bottle with. I've got one here. This one doesn't actually have any stickers on, but this one says Love Koh Samui. So it's got the word love. So that word itself has a frequency, has a vibration that is going to activate that water. So so yeah, just being kind of really conscious with the water, not just for hydration and cleaning the body, but at an energetic level. So yeah, that's something we can do, as I say, to prepare by bringing some crystals with. I don't know, is there anything else you could think of there, Kate, that you could to prepare with water?
You know, there's a lot of just, I guess, on the theme of water, I really recommend, if you can, connecting into that when you're there in other ways too. I had a very similar experience. I only had access to bottled water, and actually the hotel would only give a limited amount, so I had to order some because they weren't giving enough. And so I would say hydrating and staying hydrated while you're in a quarantine hotel is really important, because we're sort of constricted and confined, and you're not moving so much, so you want to keep at least your internal systems moving along, and water really helps that. So you're programming that with positive thoughts, so just an appreciation as you're taking it in really helps. And on the theme of the water, if you do find yourself in a room like Simon and I have been in or are in, and the AC is drying everything out, it's just even, you know, having the shower on for 5 minutes on hot, or the kettle with the lid open, and it's water as well, of course, it's steam coming out, and that's just putting some humidity into the room for the skin. So it's kind of, you know, taking water in, but also looking at what's going on in the room with water. And I was going to say, if you do have a bath, a soak in Epsom salts is fantastic. I didn't have a bath, but again, a friend bought me a diffuser that I could put essential oils into. And so that was another thought. If you can take some essential oils and soak in that, or pop that into some water and, you know, have that steaming. Even if you don't have a diffuser, you can pour some boiling water in a cup with some oil, and it will let the scent out. And it's just this connection that you can tap into, and you could use different scents to help you feel more relaxed or grounded, or what have you. And that was my thing over crystals. I just didn't have any with me, so I connected with scents and oils and things like that.
Yeah, no, that's a really good tip. Yes, the smell of my environment is always extremely important to me. So yeah, a selection of essential oils with me here, sage, Palo Santo, to keep the place kind of cleansed, and yeah, just keep the air feeling kind of more vibrant and alive. Definitely. You mentioned about water, just to stay very well hydrated. I personally, I don't find water that hydrating. I think that's because I eat so much fruit.
Fruit, yeah. I was gonna
I don't
that
drink much
too.
water. So this kind of whole kind of 2.5 liters a day, yeah, maybe if you're, if you're eating foods and drinking liquids that are dehydrating, if you're drinking a lot of coffee and tea, like with caffeine in, and you're eating fried food or a lot of carbohydrates that take up a lot of moisture inside of you, then yeah, maybe you need 2.5, 3 liters a day. I mean, personally, I'm probably not drinking more than about this, which is 750 milliliters, but then I'm probably getting through a few liters of liquid through the fruits. I've also found, and this was something else I wanted to add, I've also found a local place that does some juice delivery. So
yes,
just kind of because I always start the day with a fresh juice. So yeah, without having a juicer here, that's been really valuable to have a juice delivery. And
also, it's an interesting point you make on that too, actually, Simon, because when I work with a lot of clients, people ask a lot about the water, and I'm on exactly the same page as you there. I drink about the same amount of water per day because my diet has a lot. I have smoothies, I have a lot of fruit, kind of thing. Personally, when I was in the hotel, it was so dry where I was, and I needed that hydration. But I absolutely agree with you. We eat our water as well, like watering cucumbers in peppers in fruit, and so it's such a myth this drink 2.5 liters a day, and you see people just deliberately drinking it to get the number in rather than tuning into what they need. So I think a lot of this hotel quarantining experience too is it's a perfect time to tune in because you're on your own and you're in this space and you can't go anywhere, so you can actually start to tune in. Well, am I thirsty? Do I need more water? Am I dehydrated? So maybe fruit.
Absolutely. Just bear with me 1 second. The battery needs charging on my phone, so I'm just going to go and get that and plug it in. 1 second.
Yeah, no worries.
Hi. So yeah, also on kind of continuing from that subject of being hydrated and and why we need to be hydrated. As you say, there's a tendency not to move as much during this, which we need to do, not least for our lymphatic system. So because if that stagnates, then we become sick very, very quickly. So it's really important that we move. So if you do like to do anything like yoga or Pilates, I really recommend bringing a yoga mat. Again, that was something that I had to sort out. I didn't bring one with me, but first day I was here, I sorted out a yoga mat. So that's been really important. And I must really admit that there's times when I have to kind of really push myself to do that. I can't be bothered, and the room's taken up by a huge comfortable bed, and I'm like, I just want to lie on the bed. I'm like, no, I just kind of make myself do that, a couple of times a day, spend 10 minutes on the mat just to move and to stretch and really just to kind of like keep all the fluids in the body moving. This is super, super important, and so yeah, the yoga mat is a really good, and I guess if you're into it, you could bring a few kind of other kind of like exercise props. But I guess if you're into that, you would have already thought of it. Yeah, because that's so the yoga mat's been extremely important. What else in terms of like the physical? I'm just kind of looking around to look for any kind of reminders here in terms of like the physical, staying well physically. I don't know. I think we've covered the main topics there.
Yeah, and I think in terms of some of the, I mean, you've covered off so many things, and it sounds like we've followed a similar pattern in terms of what we had. And I was just going to mention as well, it depends what kind of spectrum you're on and what your lifestyle's already like. And obviously Simon and I are very into health and well-being and all of that kind of thing. So there are things that we naturally think of. So hopefully some of the things we've suggested, if they're not quite in your realm, that you consider them. But having I think it's also kind of a physical and a mental, emotional part, is having, for some people, having a routine while they're in the quarantine would be really helpful from a mental point of view. I enjoy my own space and time, and I know you do too, Simon. Some people, they're very used to being with other people or whatever, and I certainly even found for myself, the same thing. I had a yoga mat brought by a friend, and I liked how I feel after yoga, but I don't actually really love yoga that much. But I had this routine where I said, I'm going to, be up by this time. If I needed a bit more sleep, that was fine. But it was about, okay, let's try and, have some movement first, then, have some breakfast, and maybe spend a little bit of time doing this. And not too rigid, it's not to be rigid, but just to give some structure to the day. And I also felt incredibly physically uncomfortable from sitting in the chair in the hotel room. And so that was quite a struggle for me. So it was so important that I actually moved and made an effort to move, and did, I did a few things that got my heart rate up and my lymphatic system moving, and just even kind of jumping on the spot, things like that, just to get my system going was super, super important. And just, getting enough sleep as well. I mean, that might sound a bit silly because you're in a hotel room, but I know people could quite easily, binge watch movies till 2 a.m. and then kind of sleep all day. And it starts to impact the circadian rhythm and things like that. So it's trying to keep in tune with things as much as you can while you're in that room, really.
Yeah, no, I think there's some good points there. I can definitely relate to the, just kind of finding a little bit of structure, because 14 days without any structure could kind of get a little bit lost in that. And I've really appreciated actually just having these days to myself. Like, it's been amazing actually. And it's something that I do for myself time to time. It might be the occasional day here and there, but actually, to have this extended period has been really quite wonderful. Now, something, I think I shared this with you, but something I did right from the beginning, which really helped me mentally with this, was to rename this, rather than being in a quarantine, that I'm on a retreat.
Yes.
And even my communication with other people, I've been telling people, I'm doing a 14-day retreat in a hotel room in Bangkok, but quite seriously, that has really helped me to kind of reframe this and get a different perspective on it. So it's not something that I have to kind of just put up with and get over, and just make the best of, and get through. It's more of something that is actually has a purpose. It's a retreat. It's a retreat for myself. The first 4 days, I treated it as a detox as well. So I didn't eat. So that was really good, because I just felt the need. So I did a detox. I've been treating it as a retreat. So I've been coming back to what you were saying about structure. It's like making sure that I meditate as soon as I wake up in the morning. And then I'm doing about half an hour of writing, just to kind of get to let the kind of thought energies, just to kind of release any thoughts that have come up, and then some yoga, and then I have a juice, and then so through the day I've got some periods of meditation, 2 periods of yoga during the day. So these kind of practices that really nurture that inner experience and that kind of connection with self, because it's a great opportunity to do this, you know, like how many of us do have that time in our lives, or take that time anyway for ourselves, just for ourselves. So rather than thinking of this as, you know, something that you've got to do and I don't want to do and I just can't wait to get out of here and this is so boring and why do I have to do this, it's such a stupid blah blah blah, and getting into that whole story, it's like completely just kind of reframing it as a really positive experience. And yeah, I can't stress that enough, how valuable that's been. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think touching on that too, something that was coming up for me as you were speaking was, you know, I feel like I struggled quite a bit on the physical side when I was in the hotel, but from a kind of mental, emotional, spiritual side, I was actually quite fulfilled, because similar to you, things were quite crazy, and I was actually moving from London to Australia for various different things, and it was so busy before I left that having that 2 weeks on my own to just decompress, be with myself, relax, connect. I could connect with friends as well, because, you know, obviously over the phone and that kind of thing, and then also I was really touched because the friends that I had in Australia were bringing me things, like making me food packs and bringing me fresh fruit and oil diffusers and smoothie makers and yoga mats and all these things. And it was just so touching to have that support. And so, yeah, it was kind of a reframing, like you said, well, I'm here and look at all the support that's coming for me. And on the food front as well, I also, just touching on that, I had a fridge in my room, which most hotel rooms do. And so if you don't have one, I'd ask. And I think energetically, I'm quite sensitive too. So I did eat some of the hotel meals when I first arrived, but I'm also quite sensitive to the energy of the food, kind of where it's been and come from and how it's landed. And so the hotel food was, you know, very processed and pre-packaged, and it really wasn't healthy. And so for me, just having that, I guess it was nurturing myself by having a lot of fruit, doing juices and having smoothies, and just, you know, slicing up some raw pepper and cucumber and things like that. So we can actually make it a really nourishing experience through doing that, if we focus on it and choose to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. You know, like, as I say, 12 days in, couple of days to go, and this has not been a bad experience at all. You know, I actually value it. I'm really pleased to have had this experience. Will I rush into doing it again? No. But if I have to, having done this once, you know, there's definitely things to better prepare for it, which hopefully this conversation, if anyone does watch this, it will help them to learn from our experience, let's say. There was something else I just wanted to add, and I think I'm kind of like nearly finished on this. Yes, because you talked about staying in touch, and we, you know, these days, and we can, it's amazing. I've got my laptop here, I got a telephone here, and fortunately as well too, because of the type of work that I do, so much of that is online. So that's been really amazing, just to stay connected with clients and to be able to continue to support clients. But I've been super conscious about the amount of time I'm spending with technology in the room, because I mean, usually I don't spend that much time with technology. I live a very kind of outdoors and natural kind of life, you know, kind of down on the island. And I can see how living in this kind of like being in this urban environment where really there's not much to please the eye, that how we can just really our focus can just kind of get drawn into these little kind of like black rectangles and everything that's going on in there. So I've been extremely conscious of that. It would have been really useful to have some kind of EMF protection here. I mean, I've got crystals. I've been wearing the quartz. I think, but maybe some more kind of specific EMF kind of protection to wear would be good in this environment. I'm very conscious and sensitive to the fact that I've got Wi-Fi all around me now. I don't have Wi-Fi in my home. I don't like to have Wi-Fi around me. If you do have Wi-Fi in your home, I really recommend you just switch it off at night at least. But yeah, there's all this electrical stuff. There's a big TV on the wall. I don't usually have a TV, so like just throwing a piece of fabric over that. It's just kind of energetically as well too, not just from the EMFs. Of course, the fabric doesn't do anything to protect from the EMFs, but just kind of seeing it there, you know. Now, whether there's truth in this or not, but you know, apparently these things have an eye looking back at us now. So good to throw a piece of fabric over. I haven't been able to turn it off. I don't know where the plug is. There's just a wire that disappears into the wall. So yeah, being very conscious of that kind of interface and use of technology, and again, just very consciously taking time out in the day to switch it all off and just sit, whether that's sitting meditating or just sitting looking out of the window, and just taking the focus of the eyes away from that blue light of the screen. Yeah, I mean, there is more and more, but I feel that those are kind of like the main things that I wanted to share.
Yeah, and yeah, we can definitely wrap up, because I think you covered a lot of the tools and techniques that I also brought in. You've covered, which is great, and also just wanted to sort of, I guess, say that if you're going into a quarantine situation and you're a bit nervous about it or what have you, just you can, like Simon, you mentioned, you can prepare yourself, hopefully, for hearing how you and I have experienced it and some of the things that we've done. You can kind of pre-prepare for that. And also that, you know, maybe you can't access like all of these different things that we've spoken about. So it's just about keeping it simple and picking the few things that you know that you will need to really support you. And yeah, I would say, you know, the food's a big one, because you're going to be there for 2 weeks, and what we put into our body has an energetic effect on us. It also has a physical effect as well. And I guess, yeah, my biggest tip would be to have some fresh food coming in, and not to have all of the hotel food if that's available to you. Yeah, I feel like the water with the salt suggestion is really a really good one, Simon, with the electrolytes, just to keep you, because the salt in the water helps you keep you hydrated as well. And just having some of that movement, and yeah, the disconnecting from things and having some time with yourself. Just try that out. It might feel a little bit uncomfortable at first, and you could try, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and build that up as you go through. And I definitely also did the same thing. I actually had a lot of my friends were like, "Oh, you're going to be stuck there, I'll ring you," and that kind of thing. And actually, although I did connect, I could connect and be much more present, because my the craziness of before getting to the hotel had eased. But I also spent a lot of time, like you said, Simon, I just sat on the sofa that was in the room and I just looked out the window and sat and appreciated that time and quiet time on my own, which we often don't get a lot of. So I love the reframing of the experience as well, and calling it a retreat. And yeah, it can be a really great couple of weeks to just nourish you and look after you.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very good.
Yeah.
So
is there anything else that you wanted to add, Simon? Wrap up.
No, I'm really happy that we've had this conversation. And yeah, if anyone does get to hear it, I hope that that's been really useful, you know, and if anyone can add anything to this in the comments, then that would be useful as well too. I'm sure there are things that other people that have experienced this could add to this experience, you know. So I'd be really interested as well to hear.
Yeah.
I think my battery died, Kate.
Oh, I can still see you, but I'll wind it up. But if you are wanting to reach out, you're wanting some support, you want to talk to someone, you want to add in your thoughts, you can drop a note in the comments or reach out to either of us. Our contact details are on the end of the video. So thank you so much, and hope it's been supportive for you.